Welcome back to Lost in Stupid Garage. We have another stupid project again. And this time we're literally in the garage. We are going to rebuild the front drive shaft for the 08 Hummer H3 GFB. And then here it is. It's an old drive shaft that took off of it months ago. And this CV boot is completely dry rotting. And the CV is actually getting funky. So, we're going to go through the process step by step and take care of this. And I'm going to get it all torn apart, but hopefully you can see down in there that this is all rotted away. It's opening up and allowing water to get in there. Yes, I probably could have gone a little bit longer with it, but I ended up purchasing another drive shaft because it had issues with it. The company was very generous and very understanding, and they gave me a discount. I was willing to rebuild the certain issues that it had and fix it, and I was able to get it as a fairly significant discount. I don't remember exactly how much, but it was significant. And it ended up saving me quite a bit, and I didn't mind having to rebuild that one, the parts that needed to be done, and in the long run, it really helped me. Alright, being stupid, aren't I? Stupid is as stupid does, right? When you do stupid things, or you act stupid, or you are stupid, life is really hard. So, speaking of stupid, on any given day, yours truly can be very stupid. I can say insulting things, or be rude, or disrespectful, or it's never meant to be an intentional thing against anyone or any person. Just sometimes I might say something that others may find offensive, but I can't spend my whole life concerned about that, right? Sometimes people get too offended too quickly, so I apologize if anything in the video here sounds offensive or comes off offensive. It's not meant to be. Okay, so we cut that. I hope you were able to see that. Cut it with a pair of scissors, and just got in here and cut it open. And usually I'll cut off all this interior rubber. Now that I've got it cut back, yes, I notice it's very dry rotted, but it wasn't as bad as I had thought it was. But the CV was acting odd, to say the least. So, like I said though, I have this other new drive shaft in there. I'm quite pleased with it so far, although I must say you could tell there was no coating of any kind on the drive shaft because it has rusted horrifically after just one season in the Midwest Wisconsin weather. It is really rusty. Now in here you have to have a special tool to do this, but this is definitely doable at home, folks. There's nothing really hard about this per se. It isn't exactly easy, but there's nothing really super hard. But you do have to line up the splines properly. So yours truly needs to mark the splines to show where it lines up. And I may have grabbed the wrong pliers. I might have to go down and get my duckbill. The ones I grabbed may not work because it's right here. I hope you can see this. I'm trying, folks, to show it to you. Dude and dudettes, as I'm so fond of saying. I'm trying to show it, but I think I need my duckbill pliers for this if I remember correctly. It's a large clip right here where I'm pointing my finger. I hope my GoPro is
I'm going to show you the pliers.
Oh.
These are a Proto tool. Excellent tool, by the way. They are a special duckbill plier. They have little teeth, I hope you can see those, and they've got serrations and dimples and whatnot on them. And they press outward, you'll notice. So,
alright, you'll notice also, mark, 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 and mark at the back. So that when you take this off, the mark goes straight. This unit here is opposite of that. I would like to mark that with a screwdriver because it's going to be hard to mark with a marker. So that's the center line I'm counting, and here is where the mark this offset of the center. This is how I usually do it. And I'll put a little mark there on the metal, so that way I know when I go to put the new one on, I can line them up. The first time I ever did this, I screwed up, and I had to tear this whole thing apart and rebuild it. It was a nightmare on the one I did. So now you take the tool, proper tool right here, you put it in on the angle. It pushes down between.
If I can get it. Sometimes it doesn't want to work. Oh, shoot. Okay, not so happy with this. There it went. See it? See how easy that was? The right tool, folks, makes a million times better. Yes, the first one I ever did, I did not have this tool. I bought this tool because to the seals and other extra parts and pieces for it, so I'll sell it with them. So here's the box being opened. As you can see, brand new, never been opened. And the part number on this is a 106780 or a 4615-23-12. Made in, of course, China. China. One piece. I'm sure there's other numbers on here too, folks, but I'm not going to.
All the other numbers, though. Here's another one. 128364. I can't show you that. That's got all my name and stuff in it, so
I'm not going to find that. So here we are. You get a tube of grease. You get this. Your little piece of cardboard, and then you get these excellent band clamps. These things are amazingly good, and I will show you how to put those on at the end. Don't try to use a zip tie, it won't work. Gone with the box. We will now, the bag luckily is open already, so we don't have to cut it. We'll pull it out. Do not just put this on because it doesn't have any grease in it. There's literally no grease in this unit. So here it is dry. If you look down inside, I'm hoping the light will just catch it. You can see, I'm hoping you see that, the little tiny prong teeth in there that you have to do. Now, if you line up your old one with your new one, like so, you find your center line and then you find your mark that you marked. You'll know exactly where this has to go again. Here's the mark. So here's the mark right there. So you know when you go to line it up, you should have it, keep it flat, right here is the mark. Don't forget to do this. You got to make sure you put it in the right orientation. Like I said, one of the times I built it, first time I ever did it, it didn't want to do it. So that's the mark. Here's the center. Do not screw this up. Yep, and that's center line. Here's the mark, here's the center. So you know you have to be in that orientation. And you know that the shaft had an orientation right here. That's the center. You'll line that up with that mark. Your teeth should then line up exactly. And if you get this off a slight bit, it'll screw everything up. For some reason, it just throws everything off because this has to go in to your transfer case. This side. This side goes to your axle, folks, right here. Here's your universal joint. And if you're off on this, as I already have stated again and again, I'll beat the dead horse some more. My first one I ever rebuilt, I was off a slight bit. I found out the hard way and had to tear the whole unit back down. So just make sure you get it in properly and that you line up the marks. Help me not to forget that, to just keep an eye on it. Now, if I'm not screwing things up here, if I remember correctly, this tube just simply gets put down inside. It's just like a big tube of toothpaste that you would buy from a Dollar Tree. It just squeezes down in. If I remember correctly, on my rebuild, after I screwed the pooch, I put in high quality grease. I got rid of all this cheap Chinesium grease and I went with a Lucas Made in America grease. High temp bearing style grease that they use in heavy duty applications. Paid a lot of money for the grease. It was not cheapity cheap, but I was glad I bought it. What I dislike about this is that there's no way to really
pre-grease it, folks. You don't really know. Yeah, they don't pre-grease. So I usually will take the end of a screwdriver, the handle, like so, and just kind of push it down in there till it hits down inside. But that really, if you think about it, doesn't do much for greasing the individual bearings. You're not really getting any individual bearings greased. That's why the last couple times I've torn the whole thing apart, greased everything by hand and put it all together again. It takes a couple hours to do it, but I've gotten amazing results with the Lucas grease. But for the average Joe or Joette who doesn't want to waste their time doing that, this works really well. You just shove the grease in. Plus, I never know if there's enough grease in this thing. I just never know. And once you get the grease down the hole, you can't see where the piece is. This is what I mean. There's no way to see the piece inside of there. So once you're in there, you kind of have to put your finger in the hole and feel for the tooth. And then go like, okay, well now I know where my center line is and I know where my mark is, so I have to line those two up. And then you're going to have to really move this thing around a lot once you're in the hole to make it work. So make sure you line it flat. Let me move this stuff. I may even want to put more grease in it now that I think about it. Because you'll notice this one is loaded with grease inside. Yep, here's where the bearing, if you've never seen the inside of one of these, I'll be happy to show it to you. Here is where the bearings are. You can make out, just make it out through the grease. There's a bearing right there. I hope you see that. There's a bearing right there. There's a group of bearings. You'll notice the next one here, where my finger's pointing, and there'll be another one here. They're very large ball bearings, and they sit inside of this, for lack of a better word, like a floating collar. And then the CV part sits in the middle, the clip, and that spins. And then there's also outer ball bearings. In the one I tore apart, it had multiple ball bearings at different angles. People tend to say that CVs are weak. I disagree. A good CV built really well out of quality parts can be very substantially strong the way it's designed. Yes, if you overextend them, they can break. There's no doubt about it, guys. So now we have two lines. We need to make sure, oh, let's get that nasty. See, you can tell water was getting in there, how nasty the lines look. They're all soppy, wet looking and gross and nasty. That is because everything was... So you know that it has to sit flush. That line has to line up with the other. And if you're even off one tooth, dude and dudettes, guys and gals, it will screw you up. So be careful you don't rip this rubber on the sharp splines. So there you are. You have your piece kind of lined up. You see, how we lined up, because if you're off a tooth, it screws you. I want to verify this is correct. So I'm going to take this one, which is got a scratch mark on it. It also has the center line on it, so there it is. That's how you can tell. You see why I put that center line on there? Right here, I put my gold center line and then I scratched it, so now I can set this right on top of this one and look at it and say, okay, yay or nay. And it's, like I said, this is really easy and yet tricky, because you don't want to be off on this rebuild. So I'm trying to line it up with the old one and lay everything flat and kind of look at it and say, okay, yay or nay. And that's definitely laying flat. But is it cocked properly? That's the question. Here's the mark, here's the mark, here's your mark, here's your mark. So I didn't put that mark over far enough. Yeah. Now the nice part is that the front axle, if you were to lift it off the ground slightly and put it in neutral, you could rotate it slightly to make it work. But, you know, a lot more monkeying around trying to make it work. So if you're in doubt, if you have any concerns that you're doing it wrong, simply put it back above this and line up the two yellow lines, dirty, grease or not, and then lay it on the floor to kind of get a feel for it, guys. And see if that's correct. So the original line, you'll notice, has it slightly pivoting on an angle, the two original yellow lines. So it should be slightly pivoted, ever so slight, but I don't think that's originally the right way, but that's the way this one was. It wasn't dead nut center. So it looks like original, it was slightly pivoted one tooth over on an angle. Like I said, it's doable because this piece rotates on this flange on the back of the truck on the transfer case. You can put it in neutral, rotate it slightly, and make it work. But why not get it right the first time, right?
Yeah, so that would be right there, the original lined up. See, that's not right. This thing should be sitting dead nuts flat. When I rebuilt the first one, like I told you, it took hours to do it, I made sure this laid flat 100%. So I want to get all the old grease back off again. I don't want to contaminate my new beautiful grease inside. Now, not that it's beautiful, just new healthy clean grease. How about that? Make sure the ring is out of the way. So anybody who tries to mystify this and make it sound like it's a huge to-do, it's not. It's really quite straightforward.
It's lined up. You can kind of gear it the way it was with the old one and line it into the hole. Make sure you're lined up. Yeah, don't just lift it up and say, oh, good is good, because that won't be good. And then you're going to have to line it into its teeth, which isn't always easy, I've noticed. And now this is the hard part, because on the old one you could cut the rubber. On the new one, you can't cut the rubber. So I had a lot of trouble my first time ever doing this. I could not figure out how to get in there to get the teeth to lock. Because you somehow have to get something in there that will allow you to turn this. What I showed you before, you have to turn it slightly to lock, open the locking mechanism to get it in. Okay, make sure we're laying about the same way. Yep, we are. Okay, we're going to stand it up. And then we know where our tooth is, because we marked it, remember? We scratched the housing. So right here is where the tooth is why I scratched the housing. We're going to open this up. And then make sure you do not puncture a hole through your rubber. You never want to puncture holes in your rubbers. That would be bad. And line them on the sides and pull with your heels. Alright, that would have come come out if it wasn't locked into the clip. See how I'm doing that? That would have not locked, folks. So yeah, that's locked. All right, now we need to put the band on. You take the band, you pull the band back, you slip it out, you slip it out. You're now going to take the band, make sure this is pulled up nice and far, like so. You now pull this back and put your screwdriver at the back side, and you pull, like so. And then you wedge that on your leg, like so, as if it were freaking magic or something. There. And then you need another screwdriver. I know, this is like the Dance of the Mad Bastards or something. You have to take another screwdriver behind the leg. Gotta get it back to where I had it. Okay, push it down with my leg that hurts, by the way. And then you snap this over. There's a little metal prong that you push over. I'm hoping the camera's picking this up, guys. I'm really trying. And then you let this on this. But I will usually give it a little whack to hold it down tight. There. And then every now and then it needs a little schwack to flatten it. That should be good. And you just take your cutters. Don't cut your rubber. There you go. That way you don't have any sharp points sticking up. And there you go. There we have it. And that is definitely in there solidly. If it wasn't, it would have pulled out when I put my feet on it. But I always double quadruple check it by pulling again.
Push it down, pull it back, move it around. You get the picture. Push it back, pull it up. Sounds familiar, eh? Gotta have it sloppy whole. Yeah, and you don't want to hear grinding or noise. Yeah, but you want to make sure that you move it around a lot so you don't hear a lot of noise at the end. Otherwise the ball bearings will be dry humping the whole time. Yeah, make sure you put a U-joint under each paw and just do this a few times. Oh, see, we're getting pressure again. I feel it, so I'll stop before I end up with a back popping off. And that's usually all I do, and then I'm done. That's it. I won't put any more pressure on it now.
Thank you so much for stopping by Lost in Stupid Garage. Keep coming back. We want you back. And as always, wherever you are in the world, I hope you have a great and glorious day. See you later. Bye.